Hey everyone, welcome to the Otherz podcast. I am your host, Stephen Penny. Joining me this week, special guest. If you are a follower of the podcast, you may know this guy. We've collaborated in the past, and that is Elijah McClinton. How you doing, man?
Hey, how are you guys? How are you?
Not too bad here.
Very good. I first want to say congratulations on meeting Shay. I know you talked about it before, but the Otherz community was like that was so big for you, and like it was amazing. And then the story about you meeting P in a studio being nerve-wracking, that was crazy, because I can only imagine.
Yeah, well, thank you. And it's still not quite sort of sunk in even to myself, even a couple of months later. But and I still realised the other day I've not actually listened back to the interview at all that we did, apart from when I did the very quick edit. So I need to actually give that a listen, because it was all a bit of a blur, I think, from a couple of months ago, and from the adrenaline and everything else that was happening at the time.
Yeah, as soon as I saw that, I was like, wow, like this is amazing. Like it's like literally, forgot who said it. I think it was Star Trek N.E.R.D on your last podcast. Even he said, like, you know, the whole community was rooting for you. Like that was amazing. That was big. And then as soon as Shay like put it out there, he put it on Twitter, whatever. I was like, wow, this is crazy.
Yeah, we got a lot more kind of coverage than I expected it to get.
Right.
There was like nothing from those guys initially, and kind of rightly so, I guess. They obviously don't tweet and post about every interview. They do, yeah. But yeah, I contacted them and said, "Is there any chance that you could just put a story up or something on Instagram?"
Mm-hmm.
And I can't remember if I talked about this previously, but yeah, they said they would, and something appeared. Like I got a notification saying you've been tagged in a Instagram story. And then a couple of minutes later, it was like you've been tagged in a Twitter post, and then there was a Facebook post, and
this is back to back. Yeah.
Yeah, they did a lot more than they needed to, really, and more than I expected. So
right.
Yeah, I have to give a shout out to Shay's team and the N.E.R.D social team as well that were looking after that.
Right.
But let's crack on with this podcast for this week.
Okay.
So we've got a couple of things we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about Angel this week. We've moved on to 2005, 2006. We've obviously got Pharrell's album in my mind that's come out, although it was heavily delayed. We're not doing the singles quite in order. Obviously, the first single off of that was Can I Have It Like That?
Right.
I think I'm going to do that in a couple of weeks. But we're going to start with Angel. And then also at your personal request, and this is a really good idea actually, it's something we've actually been meaning to do for a while. I know myself and Dave actually talked about it a while back.
Yeah, you two definitely got to do that still. You got to do a sequel.
Well, yeah, we will. I think we're going to talk about Neptunes or Pharrell Bridges. And this is like when someone asks me, like, what's your favourite Neptunes song? It's like you can't pick one. And
I remember I asked you, and you were like, "Next
that
question,
was it.
I can't even do it." And
That's
I was like,
it.
"Man, I wanted something."
Yeah, and if you do pick one, then half an hour later you're like, "Oh shit, there was that other one that I've forgotten."
Exactly.
There's so many. So when you said, "Oh, let's do a sort of Neptunes Bridges section," great idea. But then when I started thinking about it, I was just like, there are too many songs. So I have to profess, I did cheat slightly. I did Google some top lists and things like that, and then picked out some of my own sort of favourites from those lists. But I've got about 10 or so here, which I think are worth mentioning. So we'll get into that in the second half. But for now, we can chat briefly about Angel. And I think this will be quite a brief chat.
Right.
This had a limited release, this single. It was released in the UK towards the end of January 2006, and it was pushed back from December because of the whole pushback of In My Mind. It got to 15 in the UK, which is not too bad. It's respectable, I guess. Yeah. It got really, really heavy radio play on Radio 1 in the UK, which is like the biggest radio station. And I did read, in fact, it was, for a short period of time, their most played song across the radio station.
Wow.
Which, yeah, for a not massive single and not massively successful single, I found it quite strange that this one would get so much airtime.
Right.
It still only gets 15 in the charts as well.
It definitely held its own out there. Us in America, you did not hear that at all.
Well,
unless it was on YouTube or something back then.
Yeah, the release got dropped in the US because of the poor performance of "Can I Have It Like That." That was meant to be the monster single, which it kind of is.
It kind of was. It's not my favorite P track at all. I think I don't know. It just seemed forced.
I think a lot of the album was like that, and I think Pharrell's even talked about that himself. Those kind of braggy kind of raps that kind of filled the album. And Can I Have It Like That is very much one of those tracks, but it's got that crazy beat, but I don't think it tied together very well, and therefore it didn't perform very well, and therefore the follow-up singles suffered, especially Angel, which got dropped. Didn't get released at all in the UK. I think it did get dropped in Australia initially, but then it got released at a later date. And then it got released in a few other European countries, so it was like Belgium, Italy, Netherlands, maybe. But nowhere else. It got scrapped, basically, just off the back of how badly Can I Have It Like That did. So it's a shame. Angel itself isn't a bad song. It's not again one of the best he's ever made, I don't think.
Right.
But it's catchy, it's radio friendly, which is probably why it did get a lot of radio play in the UK. It's only 2 minutes 40 long or something, I think.
Yeah, it's a very short song. Very short.
Yeah. But yeah, it's one of those. I'll still listen to it. I don't tend to skip over it. It's I'm happy kind of listening to it. But yeah, it's not one that will blow you away. In terms of like the song and the video, I think the video side is more interesting than the song itself.
Which video though? The unreleased one or?
Well, that's the point exactly. So most people will have seen the released version, which was directed by Hype Williams. But if you dig around on YouTube, you can also find a pre-production version of an unreleased version. And I watched them back earlier today, actually, just to kind of make some notes. And by the looks of the way the videos are made, the style, the audio that's in the videos, what I think is the one that got released was the radio edit version. Mm-hmm. And the unreleased one is kind of the explicit in inverted commas, because the audio that's overlaid is the kind of explicit version. Not that there's that many explicit words, but there are a couple. Right. And also you've got like Pharrell feeling up some, his hands, ass, his hands on someone's ass and stuff, and it gets a bit suggestive.
Right, it's not TV friendly at all. But I do like the unreleased version better, in my opinion. But the released version is way more appropriate.
The release version is like it's funny that it's a Hype Williams video, because obviously Hype Williams was massive around that time. Right. I was going to say it's when he peaked. It's not when he peaks. He's still a brilliant director, but that's when everyone went to Hype Williams. Those kind of early to mid 2000s. But it's a very, I guess, like almost watered down Hype Williams video. There's you've got the kind of the typical Hype Williams border at the top and the bottom, which is like a wooden kind of frame in this instance. I think it is, but there's nothing else really to it. Some of the lighting and the backgrounds and the colours and stuff are typical kind of Hype Williams, but there's no overly flashy shots in it, which you see in some Hype videos. There's no kind of nothing kind of elaborate going on. It's all kind of quite simplistic.
I was just thinking that, for a Hype Williams, directed video, there's nothing too elaborate about it. It's just kind of straight to the point. I think the thing that I love about Angel, to me, it's the fact that, P provokes a feeling, of being a kid again, asking a dad, can I take, your daughter on a date, asking his mom, what should I do? that it reminds me of high school being like 15. Like that's the coolest thing about it to me.
Yeah, and again, it's that verse you refer to, I think it's the third verse on there. That's actually interesting, like a double meaning. He's asking her father, but because she's an angel, her father is God. So he's he's talking to God.
I didn't even think about that. Yeah.
And then he talks about we'll go to the mall and you'll always be able to see us. That's because obviously God can see everything at any time.
Whoa. Did not think about that at all.
Yes, there's kind of a double meaning to it, because I remember those years back when I listened to it, and it's kind of it is a grown-up song, and then it gets that third verse, and you kind of think, well, why is he asking her dad all of a sudden? Yeah, like is he singing this as a teenager or a child or whatever? But yeah, I think it's more to do with it's the play on the words, and it's that double meaning, and it's the fact that she's an angel and he's kind of God, talking to God, as it were. Yeah.
Well, that's really crazy. I did not even think about that. Angel, God, makes sense.
Yeah, and you get that on in my mind in a few places. There's quite a few kind of references to religion and stuff like that. There's even the Our Father track on there as well, which is one I do actually tend to skip over. But
that's one I skipped over for a couple of years until like it was just on. And I was like, wow, this is it's a pretty decent track. But I used to always skip over it because I was like, I don't want to really hear about God. Like, I mean, I love God.
Yeah.
God's cool. Yeah, but it was kind of preachy to me. It was kind of preachy to me.
Shout out God.
Shout out God. Yeah, I love you. But no, I used to always skip over it. But now, I mean, it's a decent track. I listen to it now and then. It's not something I would go to and press, play.
Exactly. Yeah, you would find it out. Yeah.
And my mind's kind of like that. It's kind of just like plays out.
It was I was going to say a strange album. I guess it kind of was. It was
very strange.
It was a concept album. It was like 50% was meant to be hip hop, and then 50% was meant to be R&B.
Right.
And so I can't remember how many tracks. But I think it was like 14 tracks altogether. So 7 hip hop tracks, 7 R&B kind of tracks. But it was a really strange mixture. Like he can pull off those tracks. He can pull off doing an R&B track, obviously.
Right.
Things like Frontin' and even like Angel and that we're talking about. But I think it was those hip hop tracks that let it down. I think you had some monster beats on the album, but as we mentioned, it's that braggadocio kind of rap that was popular at the time. Obviously he was in his heyday with the jewelry and the clothing line was blowing up and everything. But I've seen interviews with him where he actually looks back and kind of says he
cringes at it,
kind of regrets it and cringes a little bit. Yeah.
But if you do look back and see his growth now, and you look back, it is kind of weird and cringy. He's just on his braggadocious, stage. As some people would call it. And I hate when they say it, bro, like, oh, I'm on my 06 P shit. Like, but if you go look back, I mean, he could spit, though. Like, he could definitely rap. He can hold his own. But it just seemed kind of forced, talking about, guns and stuff. Like, I'm just like, yeah, you don't really do that. But, I mean, hey, that's P for you. I mean, he can fit in anything. He's, what was he called? Chameleon? Or he calls himself. He can fit anywhere.
And he can make music for any genre, and he's well within his rights to kind of test the waters and make the music that he wants to make at any time he wants. But it's not a bad album, but it's a confused album, I think.
Right.
But if we go back to the two sort of video versions we were talking about, again, something that I noticed that was quite interesting. You've got this edited, TV friendly version, whatever you want to call it, and there's no branding of anything whatsoever. I think throughout the whole video he's wearing a suit jacket and a jumper and a shirt, just a pair of jeans, just kind of sensible, grown up, I guess, kind of clothing. But then if you look at the unreleased version,
BBC ice cream plastered everywhere.
It's like everything
It's a
from the early
commercial,
to mid
yeah.
2000s. Yeah, he's got the black Arch logo tee.
Yeah.
He's got a Coneman crew neck. He's got a black hoodie, which we don't actually really see very well. But
Yeah, I didn't get to
I
see
think
that
it.
much, yeah.
I think it might be I think it might actually be the hoodie that I've got, which is the Tokyo Store exclusive Arch logo one.
Yeah.
And then I was trying to work out what shoes he was wearing as well, because there's one shot where they look like they're a pair of ice creams. They're the white dollars and diamonds. But then as you get further into the video, you can kind of see his shoes, but you can't see any detailing on them. They just look like white. Well, in different shots they look like different shoes. There's one shot where they look like a pair of Chucks. There's another shot where they look like an ice cream / Stan Smith kind of silhouette.
Yeah, I think it was the red Diamond and Dollars, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's the one. I think it's like a minute in, and he's like standing, like next to some girls or something. I think it was that. I think it was.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's what I said. I think there's one shot where it pans across him, and he's sat down with his feet facing the camera, and you can see the red sole of the shoe, but you can't actually see any detail on there at all. And obviously the video's it's a pre-production video from over 10 years ago, so the quality isn't great as well. So it is hard to tell, but yeah, I think they were a pair of ice creams. And then you've also got, in a couple of shots in the video, you've got one of the girls eating an ice cream, and then there's like a little ice cream cart with ice cream written on the side of it as well. And so yeah, it was very much a branding exercise, just like a lot of the other videos at that time. Right.
But I think the cool thing about Pharrell, like, even with his branding, it's not pushy. Like, to me, I don't think it is. It's just, nice and put in there just in the background, but it definitely catches your eye.
I think if you were to follow the brand, like myself was at the time, other people, you notice it. But if you weren't a fan of that brand, or you didn't know what BBC was,
you wouldn't even know.
You wouldn't notice. Yeah, you'd say, okay, there's a shirt that says BBC, but then you've got the Cone Man on in a different shot and a crew neck, which is completely different.
Right.
So you wouldn't really notice it. And like you say, I don't think it's there's a lot of it, but I don't think it's
done tastefully.
Yeah. Well put. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it is. And also, what I like in this kind of pre-production video is they haven't animated any of the graphics or anything yet.
Yeah.
So you've got the kind of the text at the bottom, the instructions.
Right. Doves fly.
Doves should fly from hand, and Cherry should be singing. Pixie dust comes from his hands, or from Pharrell's hands, or something. One of the instructions is for when the people animating it actually get to it, or doing the kind of CGI. But I'll put a link in the show notes for people to go to YouTube and watch it, because I don't think everyone will have come across that.
Right.
So what else have we got with Angel? Like I say, it's a short track, and the video's not overly exciting.
Right. It's kind of just there.
It's just one of those. It's to me, it's an album track, and I'm not quite sure why it even got released as a single itself.
Yeah. Like we said, it was just a weird time.
Yeah, I guess with like kind of have it like that, and the way the album was kind of concepted, I guess they were trying to then push an R&B song. But yeah, I think there were stronger tracks on the album to kind of follow up with. But
right.
But yeah, there's not really much more to say about it, not from my perspective anyway.
Yeah, I think we covered it though. I mean, it's a decent track. Didn't chart well in the U.S. It's like one of those songs, like I remember me working at this shoe warehouse. I used to work there, I think, like 2 years ago. And that song would come on and be like, oh, shit. And me and my other friend, Deontay, we were like, are they playing Angel? He was like, yeah, they're playing Angel. But that was like the only good song. They also had Say Something, too, with Mariah Carey. Yeah, that was like the only two Neptunes songs. And the rest were just like freaking, I don't know, it was like Shawn Mendes or something like. Yeah.
Say Something is actually quite
right. Or your favorite Nelly Furtado.
Yeah, my favorite. I was gonna say Say Something's actually quite an underrated song. I quite like that.
Right, it is.
I don't know if that's on my list to cover at some point, but it might be worth adding. All right, so let's get into this bridges section, this part you want to talk about.
All right, you go first.
So what we're doing, we're just going to list off some of our favourites.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, list off our favorites, talk about it a little bit.
All right, so most of mine are quite early tracks. I have got, let me just count how many I've got here. 3, 4, 5. Yeah, I've got 10 exactly that I picked out.
Okay, I think I have like a couple, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't go through like every track ever made. I just went through some lists and picked out some that kind of stand out to me. Or some that I've just heard recently that I kind of thought of. So, all right, I'll go first. And I think the first one I had, and I'm saying this isn't in any particular order. These are just ones that I like.
Right, it's impossible to put in order.
Exactly, yeah. I'm going to go Good Girl by Vanessa Marquez.
Vanessa Marquez, yeah.
That's
that
a
one,
really good one.
That one's a really good one.
And I'm not going to try and do any renditions of any of these bridges while we're on here. But yeah, that was off of, what album was that? Off the Clones album.
The Clones album, that's the Clones, yeah.
Yeah, and I wish we'd seen more of Vanessa Marquez as well.
Yeah, it's unfortunate it didn't pan out the way it's supposed to be. I remember I was watching an interview, I think it was like a few weeks ago, I think like Justified, when Justin was, I think he was shouting out Vanessa Marquez. He was like, oh, she's a great singer, she's the next step. And this was like 2003, 2, whenever Justified came out, 1, 2. And I was like, wow, that's crazy. Like, she was really supposed to pan out, but I guess it did not. Maybe it's because she was on her phone when when Pharrell was in his studio.
Yeah, if you've not seen the video, go and look up the making of, what's the track? Midnight Hour.
Yeah.
That's it.
It's funny, all the comments are just like, what is she doing? Why is she on the phone while he's making the best beat ever? That's another one, Midnight Hour. That's a great one.
It's another great track, yeah. All right, come on in, give us your first one on your list.
I said it before on our other, when we spoke before, I Don't Know by Usher. With I think it's P. Diddy on it as well. Forgot what album it was on. It was I think it was his second.
Yeah, I actually had that on my list and I took it off for another Usher one.
That one, and I have a crazy memory about that. I remember my uncle's wedding. Remember those old CD players? Well, probably not old to you. It was old to me. But I had an old CD player, and I remember I would keep replaying that song like every time, like in a limo and everything. I would just keep playing the song. I just had it on my ear like the whole time. And that's like one of my favorite memories ever. And that bridge it's like a dream. It changes the whole mood of the song. I mean, all the bridges change the whole mood of the song. It's amazing. That one's amazing. I love that song. Yeah.
So yeah, speaking of Usher, I had that on the list. I took it off and I put on there instead. You Don't Have to Call.
Oh yeah, that's a great one. Yeah. And
that I put that on there just because that is one of my favorite early Neptunes beats.
Right.
Anyway.
I think that one was that one's supposed to be for Michael, right? Michael Jackson.
Yes.
They said. Yep.
Yes. One of many that they had Michael in mind for.
Right. Yeah, they had a bunch.
Yeah, so a lot of the Justin ones I think were originally kind of intended for Michael. They had Michael in mind for a lot of them. Right. And a few of the Usher ones. But yeah, I think Usher did pretty well on it, and it was obviously good for him in his career, and I still think it's a great song.
Yeah, he definitely held its own. That video screams 2002, but I don't know, back then I used to love that video. I used to watch it all the time.
That video, I watched the video again a couple of days back, and yeah, it's really dated. It is not aged well at all with, just the clothes, the baggy jeans, the tees, leather jackets.
The Escalade with the 20 trims. Yeah, it's like, that's 2002 right there.
It's certainly of its time, yes. Yeah. All right, give us your next one then.
I'm pretty sure you have this on your list. If not, I don't know what to say, but Provider.
I didn't pick any like N.E.R.D stuff. I just went for like Neptunes Productions.
Oh, Neptunes Production. Okay, but no, that bridge is definitely a crazy one. It changes the whole mood. Like I said, it gives you chills. I remember my mom and dad used to play that, and they put me onto a lot of stuff. I was like, wow, like what is this? Like this is amazing. This is before I even knew what N.E.R.D was. I was
Yeah.
like 4, so I was like, wow, this is crazy.
I'm feeling old now.
Right.
But yeah, even in the video, it completely switches up as well when it gets to the bridge, and it
Hmm.
completely changes like the mood of the video as well to a certain
Correct.
extent.
And I like the end of the video where it's the live performance. When she
Yeah,
switches the audio from the live performance, that's one of my favorite provider performances ever, and that one's like amazing. I love it.
yeah.
All right, your turn, your turn.
All right, I've got NSYNC,
Mm-hmm.
the Girlfriend
Girlfriend.
remix featuring Nelly.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that one.
So the original
Yeah.
one is like the non-remix is a little
Mm-hmm.
bit different, although similar. But yeah, the remix version, which is what was actually kind of released as a single, and they made the video for and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's yeah, I would never like an NSYNC track. That's not my kind of thing. But like
Right.
it's a good track in
And
itself.
that's the thing about the Neptunes. It bridged a lot of gaps. It made people listen to other forms of music that they wouldn't listen to. Like there was some interview. I think I saw it a couple weeks ago. I forgot who he was talking to, but he said that you made me listen to NSYNC. I would have never
Yeah,
listened to them ever. Like he was like, I'm not an NSYNC fan, but he made you.
yeah. It's the same with like Britney Spears.
Right.
"Slave for You" is one of my favorite Neptunes
Yep.
tracks, and then even like Justin Timberlake himself. Like when he left NSYNC,
Hmm.
and when I heard he was working with them, I was like, well, I'm never going to listen to a Justin Timberlake album, am I? Like, I don't want no like poppy boy band kid, not
Right.
interested in that sort of stuff. And Justified went on to be one of my favorite albums, one of the
Right.
best produced pop albums
Ever.
ever, potentially. Certainly some of the Neptunes' kind of best work.
Exactly. Um, my the other one is the way she dances. Talked about that
Yeah.
before. The end of that bridge is it's like a dream. And I remember a couple years ago. Um, I remember Shimmy Hoffa. He, I think he definitely met Pete, and he asked him. He was like, "How did you make that bridge?" And I was like, "Wow, that's a crazy question because I don't even know what I would say. I'd probably be like stuttering, like, hey, like I don't know." But I remember he said that, and I was like, "Wow, that's my favorite bridge too." So, and that's funny, but that it feels like you're in outer space. And
Hmm.
actually, Amy O on YouTube, I don't know if you know her. She loops like every Neptune's bridge, like for like 10 minutes. Definitely shout out Amy O. She's really dope. She like just go to her page, like it's like a dream. Like every Neptune's bridge ever.
I'll have to check that out,
Yeah,
definitely.
but you go ahead.
All right, my next one, the absolute classic, one of my favourite songs of all time, and that is "Frontin'."
Yeah, I had that on my list too.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
couldn't pass that over. I had to put like just a Pharrell track in there, and
right.
yeah, "Frontin'" is just one of those tracks where even now it still
It still
sounds
holds its
great.
own. Yeah,
It still sounds fresh. It's possibly like the best. I was thinking about this earlier, and like in my opinion, it's the best kind of R&B hip hop kind of crossover track that
right.
I think has been made. With obviously Pharrell doing the R&B part, and then Jay-Z rhyming on it.
Right.
Yeah, such a strong track, absolute classic. And I have to say, I'm still annoyed isn't the right word. Gutted, I think, is the right word. That on the tour at the moment, when
Yeah.
they have a couple of breakdowns where they do like stuff they've produced, or like past Cavoisier and
Yeah.
what else is there, like that Migos one, Stir Fry, and all
Yeah.
those kinds of things. And they also do a couple of classic songs, but
Mhm.
Frontin' doesn't appear anywhere in there, and I was really
What?
gutted about that.
Oh man, that's like a go-to. I don't know why they wouldn't do that. I mean, well,
Yeah.
okay, well, I guess I know. Of course, they put their newer stuff out. Stir Fry is fairly new. Uh, I would pick
Yeah.
Frontin' over Passive Cavarcier any day, even though that's one of my favorite busted tracks. But I don't know. That's really weird.
Yeah, and I think it's more like at the moment, the tour at the moment is a festival tour.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not, you don't want everyone in the crowd like suddenly coming down and two-step into
Yeah. Yeah, you
to
did
your
say
single.
that.
You want everyone up and jumping, and
Right. Yeah, you did say they're more of a like a like a festival band right now.
Yeah.
It's more lively. Yeah, if they were to play Frontin', I think you and Star Trek Nerd talked about if they were to play one of the slower songs, it would probably throw off the mood. Like
Yeah,
I think it was
definitely.
their old 2004. I think they did Pink Pop Fest in
Yeah.
2004, and it was it was they had really nice tracks, but you can tell the crowd was kind of just like
Yeah, and that's when they
yeah,
were doing like Maybe and
right,
stuff like that to really big audiences, and it doesn't work particularly well in that sort of setting. I know full well that if they went on a like a venue tour, so if they were doing kind of smaller places with a couple of thousand people or whatever,
right.
then Frontin' I think would definitely be put in
And
there.
you were lucky enough to go to those shows, the small venues.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I've seen, I don't know what. Well, I've seen them like 14 times now. I
wow,
think 13 or 14 now, and I think only twice at festivals. So the majority of those have been in kind of smaller,
yeah.
in more kind of intimate venues.
How was that? Because well, I guess back in that day, N.E.R.D. it was big to a point, but they weren't big to the point where it's like unreachable. I think now they kind of hit unreachable status, but back then
Yeah.
they were still very big. They held their own, but you know I think I heard this before, but hip hop wasn't ready, for a rock slash hip hop crossover.
Yeah,
But how was that? How was that?
it was a very like different audience. I think now if you go and see N.E.R.D or Pharrell, you've got more casual listeners because
Right.
they are so big. So people go, oh yeah, I quite like that album or that single, so I'll go and see them.
Yeah.
Or they've done a couple of things I've heard of, so I'll go along. But back then it was still that real kind of cult following. Like
Yeah.
In Search Of didn't sell particularly well anywhere. But if you look at like the lists back then of like best 100 albums of the year, or best 100 albums of like 2000 to 2010,
Yeah, they're
it's
on
always
there.
on that list.
Yeah.
It's always rated so highly. So back then, it was like more real kind of
Like a raw
hardcore
crowd.
fans.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then a lot of what I also remember is just, this is when like, obviously Pharrell was a lot younger then, and I think we were coming into the age of celebrity a bit more. So he was
Yeah.
kind of this sex symbol more than he is so
Definitely
now.
was.
Now he's more of a sensible kind of family man.
Yeah.
But back then, I just remember going to these gigs and just hundreds of screaming girls, literally
I see it.
screaming and
Yeah.
crying,
Passing
and
out.
all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, he was definitely the man back then. Still is. He was definitely a man. Like I saw some I think it was the Pink Pop Festival. Like a girl was like knocked out.
Yeah,
I was like, wow, this is crazy. But
yeah.
oh man, I would kill to go to one of those. I'm going to the one in Santa Ana. I think it's in October.
Okay, yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but well, I don't know if you know, but yeah, I think it's in October. Yeah, I just got it, so yeah, we'll be going. Hopefully they play Frontin', but probably not.
Would that be your first time seeing them?
That would be my first time. I wanted to see him. When did oh, my mind's going blank. Dang, what's the oh man, what was the album that came out in like '08, like late 2000? Before Nothing.
Seeing Sounds.
Seeing Sounds, yeah. It was Seeing
My
Sounds.
memory's terrible as well.
Yeah, it was Seeing Sounds. I really wanted to go see him, but no one would take me, so I was like, dang. So, so yeah, now it's like I have to, because it looks like this could be their last one. So, shoot. But my next one is Sleepy Brown's Margarita.
Strangely enough, that was 2 away. I had one more before that, but yeah.
Yeah, that one's a crazy one. I know David enjoys that bridge a lot. No, that bridge is a monster. Like when Sleepy Brown says fly, like it feels like you're flying. Like I want to go fly now. That one's amazing. I love that track. I love that bridge.
It's a really underrated track as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those that like Neptunes fans will know it and love it. But I think if I played that to pretty much anyone I know that's just like a casual music listener, they'd have like no idea who it is, who's singing, who it was produced by, when it came out, what it was called, or anything. It's very slept on.
Yeah, it is, and Sleepy Brown, his vocals on there are amazing. Of course, you have a feature from Big Boy, which is pretty cool. It's like classic Big Boy, this witty lyrics, whatever. It's a really strong track. Really love it. But yeah, like you said, the core fans will know exactly who produced it, who's singing. I mean, Sleepy Brown, he wasn't ever that big though. He's kind of like with Outkast or a little bit with UGK. So it was like it's kind of unfamiliar face.
Yeah, definitely. All right. So my one before I had on that list was, as we were talking about earlier, Justin Timberlake from Justified, Last Night.
Last Night, yep. I had that on my list too. It was a little bit further down. Yeah, that's a really strong track. I love it. Yeah.
Yeah, again, one of the, I think, underrated tracks on the album. I think, like Senorita, Like I Love You, and all those kinds of tracks. They get the headlines from that album. When people think of that album, that's Cry Me a River. That's what they tend to think of.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of the other tracks on that album are still really, really, really strong.
Right.
And go on.
Oh, go ahead.
And I was going to say, and Last Night is one of those really strong tracks. So much so I'd probably put it above some of those singles that actually came out.
And actually, that's funny because my next one is Nothing Else. I think that was originally for Latrell. But no, that bridge is really crazy. That breakdown it's a little bit awkward at first because just like boom, 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 the little before, but then it turns into like it's just tough. It's just crazy. I love that bridge, and then it's like the same thing. It's like the other tracks get highlighted before it. Like I Love You, Senorita, Rock Your Body, even though those are really strong tracks, but like you, probably think of like Nothing Else before then, for that.
Yeah, the more low-key tracks on that album were still really, really good, really, really strong. What else did I have next? I had a couple from Robin Thicke, actually. So I had My Life.
Okay, yeah.
Which, again, quite an underrated track, I think. I don't know how well it performed at the time, or if it even got released. I'm not quite sure.
I think that was for the Despicable Me.
That was it, yes. Yeah. That was it. It was on the album there. I really like that track and that bridge. And then along with that, I put in there Wanna Love You Girl as well.
Right. You have to put that one right there.
Yeah, another Hype Williams video, in fact. A typical Hype Williams video. But really, really strong track and one that I still listen to. And like Robin Thicke and Timberlake are quite similar in the fact they've got that slightly higher pitched voice, so they can pull off those bridges. I think how Pharrell imagines them. It's in that kind of falsetto voice that he doesn't quite reach. He can kind of get to some heights, but I think they really do have the voice to be able to kind of pull that off. And
they do have a very similar voice. I'd put it at that, yeah. But another one is actually from a Despicable Me. I think it was Despicable Me 3 is Do It. That one is crazy. That one is, it's a childish song, but that bridge, is so fun to listen to. It's very positive too. It's basically just saying, do it, get off your ass, in a good way.
I've got to say, I quite like the Despicable Me album tracks that kind of Pharrell put together, like Yellow Light and stuff like that. And I know at the time when these things come out, I think he got quite a lot of slack from people.
Yeah. I know he got slack from the SpongeBob one. I still listen to that. It's funny. It's cool.
Again, I still really like that track.
Yeah.
But the problem is, fans out there or casual listeners will say, well, that's not Pharrell, that's not N.E.R.D. And you have to remember the audience that they're kind of playing to. They're not playing to their normal audiences. They're playing to the audiences of the people that are going to go watch the movie.
Exactly.
So that's kids and the parents as well to a certain extent. So when you look at the soundtracks, there are a lot of throwbacks.
Right.
Especially in the Despicable Me stuff, there's a lot of kind of 60s, 70s disco and funk kind of sounding tracks. Like My Life is one of them, in fact.
Exactly.
And that's to kind of draw the adults and the parents in and keep them kind of going with the movie or with the soundtrack. But so they're not typical Pharrell or N.E.R.D. tracks. But
if you listen to it, you can actually hear
the...
Because I'm pretty sure this... Despicable Me 3 was made at the time of N.E.R.D. of their latest album, So you can definitely hear the N.E.R.D. influence. Like, shoot, I still listen to Hug Me religiously.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't give a fuck. Like, I'll listen to that. Even if it was like a Fifi Dobson rehash, I still listen to that to this day. To this day, it just came out, but I still listen to it. And my friends give me flack, like, what are you doing? Like I remember, like, I was picking up my friend, I was playing Hug Me, and she was like, what is this? What is, I don't know. This is the whole thing. But no, I love it.
But yeah, good tracks, very good tracks.
Right.
Who's next? Was it me or you?
I think it's you.
All right.
Yeah. My
next one is No Doubt. Hella Good.
Hella Good. Yeah, that's a great one. Yeah, and I think that's the. Well, no, forgot what. No, Sunday Morning is the one that really got me to listen to No Doubt, and then when Hella Good came out, I was like, okay, yeah, this is Gwen Stefani is the GOAT. Like, I love. Yeah, that's a great one.
Yeah, I was never really a No Doubt fan.
Really?
Yeah, it was around that time when you had a lot of bands like Good Charlotte and all those kinds of people. It wasn't my kind of scene, and they all kind of came across as a little bit sort of samey to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, Hella Good is a hella good track.
Right. Another one is a Robin Thicke song. I think it's unreleased. Another Life. I
think I know the one. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I think that one's unreleased. That one is a really good track. I don't know. It's kind of dreamy. I don't think that one's kind of just has the same beat throughout. There's nothing really special about it, but it's kind of classic Neptune. You can tell it was a Neptune track for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, I'll give you my last one that I had on my list from my very short list. Which was one I mentioned earlier, actually, which was Slave for You by Britney Spears. That track just, like, kills it.
Right. And like you said before, it's a track you wouldn't listen to Britney Spears if it wasn't for them. Right.
Yeah, very much so. But you listen, I think I've talked about this on previous podcasts, I can't quite remember. But it's one of those tracks where you listen to it and it sounds kind of quite simplistic, but if you actually break down all the different layers that are there in that track, it's a really complex track, like a lot of the kind of Khalees stuff that they did sort of early days as well. They're actually really layered and really kind of quite complex. And yeah, that track, I still listen to that. Great hook and great bridge, yeah.
Yeah, that one is amazing. Yeah, Britney Spears, she was just, transitioning into a woman at that time. That was her coming out party.
Yeah, exactly. It was the same with Justin as well around that time. It was all within the space of a year or so, I think, where they're stepping away from their pop, kid-friendly kind of roots and becoming a bit more sort of, grown up.
And it's crazy, back then when Slave For You came out, that was considered an explicit video. And now it's kind of just like, it's kind of like a run-of-the-mill video now.
It's weak now, yeah.
Yeah, it's like now videos are like softcore porn, so it's crazy. But all right, the last one is a Take It Back, Madonna. That one's a crazy one. I think that made her Rebel album. I'm not sure. I don't think it did, but no, that was a crazy one. I really enjoyed that one. That bridge, you can definitely tell that one was like made 2015, 14. You know, it's been I love that track. That one's a really good one, a really strong one.
Yeah, again, like the Madonna stuff, I think kind of went
Under the
all of the
radar.
stuff he's done with, yeah, it's gone under the radar. Like Hard Candy is one of those albums, got some really good strong tracks on it. It's quite a confused album,
Yeah.
but there's some really good stuff on there. A lot of it's kind of slightly overproduced, I feel, just
Yeah.
because of the. I think I remember a story somewhere where they asked him about him working with Madonna and how it kind of came to be, and she had originally just asked him for one track,
Mm-hmm.
and she said, "Oh, and Timbaland's going to be doing like 4 tracks on there or 5 tracks on there," and he was like, "No, I'm not doing one track. if Tim's got like 5 tracks on there, then I'm doing 5 as well." And it turned into like a competition between the two of them.
They always had a friendly competition.
Yeah.
You can always tell.
And it's kind of a good thing, because I think it lifted the album a little
Right.
bit. But as I say, I think it did also just push it into being slightly overproduced from both parties.
No, it was, but if you really think about it, the way Pharrell is, if he works with like, you know, a person like Madonna, you know, a legend, of course, he's gonna save his best production for her, and that's what I feel like. He definitely used one of his best production for her, and of course, it goes under the radar. But no, back to the Tim and P thing. They definitely had a friendly conversation. Of course, I'm probably sure you've seen an interview when they were talking, and I think he was talking about Tim was in the studio with Missy Elliott, and he goes to the studio to check on what Pharrell doing, and then he hears Khalees, "I hate you so much right now." And he's like, "What the fuck? We need to amp it up." Like, and that's crazy. That like I love that. You can definitely tell the competition back, you know, with the Justified thing. Of course, Timberlake picked his side, picked Tim over Neptunes, which I wish they had more material. I mean, his last album it's okay. It was a bit confused too.
Yeah, exactly. I think there was some really good stuff on there. There
Right.
was some stuff that was just a bit meh, okay.
Right.
But yeah, that was my list. Anything else you can think of off the top of your head?
Actually, I did want to tell you, what do you think about the Ariana Grande Sweetener project?
Oh yeah, so yeah, let's talk about a couple of recent releases then while we're at it. Again, this is in the same camp as what we've been talking about a moment ago with the whole Justin and Britney and NSYNC thing. Ariana Grande, or Grande, however I don't even know how you pronounce her name. Yeah, just not my sort of thing. Yeah, that's aimed at teens, people in their 20s, people much younger than me. Really not my sort of thing. But obviously, because of the involvement of Pharrell and Mike and Drew and all these people in the team,
Right.
I actually thought, well, I'll give it a listen. And I have to say, I've given it like one listen the whole way through and then just picked at bits and pieces. But I was really, really pleasantly surprised.
Right.
Really strong album. The Pharrell's got 5 tracks on there, I think it is 4 or 5 or something.
4. Yeah, about 5. 5 is
yeah. And somebody, it might have been Star Trek World or somebody pointed it out on Instagram, like there's a couple on there that sound like real early Neptunes influenced tracks. There's one that sounds like one of the old Usher tracks and stuff, and that really does come through, and in a really good way as well.
Right. It doesn't sound rehashed or anything. It just sounds like a 2018 X 2002 mixed together. So I love it.
Yeah, a really strong album. Even the kind of non-Neptune stuff, or was not Neptunes but Pharrell, non-Pharrell stuff, was still really good.
Right.
It was a really strong album. Yeah, I need to give it a few more listens over the kind of coming days and weeks. But yeah, really, really pleasantly surprised.
The track "Successful," I think that's one of my favorite on there. It's reminiscent of we were talking about it before. Say Something. It has the same hard hats and whatever. That bridge, it reminds me of like a Robin Thicke bridge, and it's really amazing. I think that's one I listen to a lot. And it's funny, Sweetener, Shimmy Hoffa pointed it out, and like I shouted him out because I thought it was funny. But he was like, the song Sweetener on there, it sounds just like Neon Guts, You see, he plays around. It's like, oh, this is Neon Guts Part 3, and it is. It's funny. Like I poked fun. I was like, Pete really just threw Ariana Grande on Neon Guts. I love it, and also nice on the Carter sounds. The production is the similar on there. So I loved the album. I really liked it a lot.
Yeah, like I say, it was a really good first listen that I had, and I need to, when I've got the time, give it a few more listens and go through it in a bit more detail. What else was I going to mention? This weekend just gone, we had another drop of HU NMDs and Tennis HUs, slightly different Tennis HUs. These are the Tennis HU 2.0s, I think they're called.
Did the King effect get you on this? Did you get it?
I don't need the King effect. I have that, whatever illness he has as well, although not to the extent he does. Yeah. But yeah, I got a pair of NMDs. I got the pink and blue and white pair.
Oh, okay.
Shout out to the person that hooked me up with those, I have to say. And yeah, really nice shoes. I wasn't particularly keen on them when I first saw them, like maybe over 6 months ago. But they've grown on me, and I'm glad I copped a pair. If you are these are the first kind of HU NMDs that also haven't sold out immediately, which isn't really a surprise with the amount that have been kind of coming out and this sort of sheer numbers. But if anyone out there is thinking of copping a pair, just be aware that at least in my instance, these ones fit slightly smaller than the other previous releases of the NMDs and the Tennis HU. So normally I'm a UK size 8, which is like I think a US 9 European 42. That's what all my shoes are. They all fit really nicely. My other HU NMDs are that size, and they fit fine. These ones are really, really tight fitting, to the point where my toes are kind of bulging at the side almost. So if you are contemplating getting a pair, I'd recommend trying a pair if you can, or if you're going to buy from online, maybe size up by half a size. I don't know if anyone else out there has experienced the same thing. It may just be my pair, I don't know. But yeah, mine certainly fit a bit smaller.
And the thing about all the Adidas releases is, I think you talked about it before, it does suck that they make so many at the same time. They have like 40 variations, and it's just like, man, like, first, like, I can't keep up, and the second is like, why should I even keep buying it?
Yeah, this is the problem. Like myself and Dave, Dave probably more regularly than me, but I go onto the Adidas website every kind of couple of weeks and just see what's on there. And every time I go on there, there's a new Tennis HU colour variant that they don't even announce they're releasing. Right. It's just another offshoot. It's another kids colour version or a women's colour version, and they just seem to be constantly kind of pumping them out. And when they first started coming out, I know Dave was the same as me. We copped like every pair we could get, and I've got to like 15 or something of the Tennis HUs. But yeah, now even I'm at a point where I've just kind of given up, unless they're really special. Like the new 2.0 ones are a slightly different design, and the colour's quite nice, so I may get a pair. But another thing that kind of puts me off with these is this is like the third price hike as well for both the NMDs and the Tennis HUs. Right. So I think the Tennis HUs, when they first came out, were €100 or 110 maybe. Then they went up to 120, and now these new ones, these 2.0s, are 130.
Wow.
And with the NMDs, they were, I think, 210 when they first came out. Then the previous release where I copped on was 230, and then these ones are like 250.
Man, yeah.
They just keep kind of creeping up. Yeah, they're putting out all these kind of colorways and variants, and they're kind of increasing the price every 6 to 8 months as well. So I know it's kind of putting me off buying more of them. If they kept them at a sensible level and they weren't releasing quite so many, I'd probably still be copping them.
Yeah,
but
I guess it makes sense. This day and age, it's kind of just like, if you're hot, you have to push as many out as possible. So I guess that's their thinking.
And I think as well that they're trying to do something a little bit different with especially with the tennis hues.
Mm-hmm.
They're trying to, from conversations I've had with people, they're trying to make that tennis hue like a standard Adidas silhouette.
Okay.
So when you think of Adidas, you think of like, you immediately think of like a Shelto, a Stan Smith, and they're trying to make that tennis hue silhouette like a staple of the kind of Adidas brand. So they can constantly keep doing releases, collaborations, etc. with that silhouette, and it will go on for whatever in time.
Okay, that makes sense.
But for us people that do want to buy them and collect them, it's a slight pain in the backside.
Devalues it slightly.
Exactly, yeah. And like I say, they're now getting to a point where the price is going up, and I've got pairs here that I still haven't worn. So.
Wow. Yeah, the king effect is on you, man. I can smell it. I can see it.
Yeah, we can blame David solely for this. But no, I have to say, like, I'm a bit of a shoe fiend anyway.
Yeah.
Obviously, like I say, not to the levels that David is, but yeah, if I get into something, then I'll just buy them anyway. And it doesn't help having David as a close friend who's always messaging me when there's new stuff or when he can get hold of stuff.
Right.
And, yeah.
It's a friendly competition. You're the new P and Tim. You and him.
I think he wins hands down. To be honest, I've been to his house. I've seen his collection.
Man, I can only imagine. He's a monster with the collection, man. Yeah.
Yeah, like everyone kind of sees his posts on Instagram of all the shoes out on the lawn and all the boxes in the cupboards and stuff, and that's nothing. That's nothing.
Dang, I am pretty upset. Freaking David, he didn't message me back. I forgot what we were talking about before, but man, I really wanted these. I think it was just the regular black board flips 2s, and I was like, dang, I really want them. Never messaged back, so I need him wherever he's at. He's probably gonna listen to it. If not, I need it.
He is. I think he landed back in New York today.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, be aware, people out there, if you do contact him, he is a man that rarely ever checks his DMs because he gets so many.
Right.
But I'll put in a friendly word for you.
I got you. Thank you.
All right. Well, I think that's pretty much it. I don't think I had anything else to cover. How about yourself?
No, that's pretty much it for me. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Mm-hmm. Well, we will wrap it up there then. You can get the show notes and all the information on this episode over at the website, theothers.net, others with a Z. You can help support the podcast by going to patreon.com/others. You can follow us everywhere online at Others Podcast, and you can find me at Steve R. Penny. Elijah, where can people find you online?
You can find me, Elijah McClinton, on Twitter and Instagram. It's spelled ELJHMCCLNTN. You'll put it there. It's a long thing. Also,
I can see you thinking about it.
Yeah, I was like, but yeah, and then also my magazine website, Death to Heartbreaks. Well, I'll be putting this on there as well. Death to Heartbreaks. It'll be in the show notes. There's a lot of words. But yeah, it's just a magazine website / clothing line, and doing some collaborations here or there. With Luke too. Yeah, I was just with Luke this weekend. From Kutch Engineering, they got some stuff coming out. Stuff in Almighty Store. Shout out Kutch, and it's a lot of good things going for us. So shout out Luke. Shout out Otherz Podcast. It's great talking to you.
Definitely, yeah. Good talking to you, man. And yeah, we'll speak to everybody soon then. Bye-bye.
All right, bye.